time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Scentlock Technologies,
Scent Blocker,
Rambo Bikes,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Limwalker Game Calls,
Stanislawski Releases,
Copper John Sights,
Easy Cut Outdoor Products,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Sense Hunting Sense,
X-Stand Tree Stands,
Spot Shooters,
Gut Check Indicators,
and Packermax Cultipackers. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to the special edition of Up North Journal podcast with Tred Barta's Get Off the Couch Expedition, all the way from Alaska, with none other than Tred Barta on the line tonight. Tred, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, red hot, ready to go. How are you guys?
Red hot. I heard a nasty little rumor that it is hotter than blazes over in Alaska.
You know what? We've had 10 days in Valdez and across Alaska that it's broken almost every single record. It's like being in Isla Morada without the humidity. We've got 85 to 90 degree days. There are forest fires above Anchorage and around the Valdez area. I think there's like 7 fires going on at one time.
Wow.
But we are getting a break in the weather, and today it's about 70 and just a flannel shirt day and absolutely perfect. But without question, we are involved with global warming, and it is what it is. And it's changing a lot of nature. It's changing a lot of migration patterns. And everywhere you go, people are saying things like, I haven't seen anything like this for 50 years. So it is really something.
Okay.
But you're right there.
The fires, are those things that are caused by people being careless, or is that just being caused by something happening in nature, like a lightning strike or something like that?
Yeah, most of it are attributed to lightning.
Okay.
And standard orographic lifting, a big thunderstorm in the afternoon. And, you know, most of Alaska has had very, very little rain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's rained in Valdez in probably 25 days, which
Wow.
is unheard of. And the woods are dry as tinder, and it's a problem.
Yeah. We've gotten a ton of rain here in Michigan. It's been just the opposite, which is very unusual for us. So it's almost like we flipped from where you're at to where we're at. That's crazy.
But, you know, it's God's way of trimming the forest. It's God's way of manipulating the world that we live in. And it's happened from the beginning of time.
Right.
So there's a reason that all this happened.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, what have you been up to? I see a lot of fishing pictures here lately, so I know good and well you've been on the water.
I came down from Four Corners, which is about an hour and a half from Valdez, and I spent about a month there. And then I went over the Thompson Pass, which is one of the highest passes in all of Alaska, has one of the greatest snowfalls in all of Alaska, and Valdez has the highest snowfall in the world, and can go between 400 to 900 inches a year.
Wow.
But I went down after catching reds and Dolly Varden and grayling, but some great fishing in the Four Corners. And I moved down to Valdez. I'm staying at a trailer park. It's downtown. And hold on, I want to take a sip of water. And I've got electric. I've got TV. I'm plugged in. It's just about in the middle of downtown Valdez, and I'm spending a lot of time down at the docks. A lot of people recognize me from the TV show. I've had my last fishing trip. I left Valdez, and I went about 70 nautical miles to Seal Rock, which is off of Montague Island. And Seal Rock is one of the great homes or migrating spots of the sea lion. And if you guys all know what a sea lion is, it's like a hippopotamus with flippers on it.
Right.
I mean, it is huge. It is massive. It's incredible. And you can hear them bellow off this island in the middle of no place in the Gulf for about 3 miles away. So we were fishing near Seal Island, and the halibut fishing was fantastic. We're catching fish between 15 pounds to 120 pounds.
Okay.
On one trip, I had 8 fish over 100, and on this last trip, most of the fish were between 25 and 30 pounds. But we also caught ling cod, and they have to be over 36 inches. But these ling cod were massive, and they've got a mouth on them. It's one of the scariest things you ever looked at. I mean, huge teeth, prehistoric type of animal, and it's just fights like hell, and it's incredible. So you're allowed 1 each.
Okay.
You're allowed 2 halibut per person. And then there are 7 different types of rockfish. And I had posted a picture of a Chinese rockfish, which is a yellow color. It's just beautiful. And the meat is very firm. The table fare is fantastic. And you can't get any better trip than that.
Well, you're talking about all these different fish. How are you setting up for these fish? I mean, I showed the picture of the big boat that you guys are on. What kind of tackle are you using? I mean, what baits and talk about the trip and how you're getting them.
You have a standard 3.0 to 5.0 reel. You're fishing with braided line, 30 to 60 pound test, braided line. You're using a weight. You're fishing in depths of 70 to 150 feet. So you're using up to 16 ounces of weight.
Okay.
Depending on the current. You can put down a jig, a conventional jig made out of metal. You can fish herring, cut herring or whole herring. You can use octopus. You can use squid, but it's basic bottom fishing.
Okay.
And these fish don't nibble, baby. They hit like a freight train, and they take off. And it's a hell of a fight. And it's really a spectacular trip. A trip of a lifetime.
Now, when you get one of these on, let's say one of the bigger, like the halibut, how long does it take typically to land one of these fish? I mean, is this minutes, or are you talking 15, 20 minutes, or a half hour? How long do these things fight?
I think 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
For a good fish.
That's a fair fight.
Yeah, maybe even 30. But I'm talking about a lot of drag and, a lot of bend and a lot of current. So it really is a tremendous fight. But, guys, you add into that seals, sea lions, migrating salmon, humpback whales, blue whales, gray whales, finback whales, and you add all of that into scenery with jagged peaks and snow-capped mountains, and you look around and you say, is this real?
Right.
Am I really in this moment? Is this me? Am I doing this? And when you realize that you are, at least speaking for myself, you feel very humble. You feel very privileged, and you take it all in. Your mind takes every minute in because it's an experience of a lifetime.
It's got to be. So you're starting to settle in a little bit. I mean, I've noticed on your posts that you've been talking with a lot of the locals there. You're getting out on boats and getting out into the big water as well. Are you finding things coming to you easier now that you're out there and kind of got a lay of the land?
I have to be honest. The answer is no.
Okay.
I have been very lonely. I seek the companionship of a woman. That's correct. The relationships that I've had in the past have not worked, and so many people ask me for autographs or sign hats or do whatever. Unfortunately, it makes me more lonely. It should make me feel good about myself, I guess, but it doesn't. And in all of these places, there's so many families and so many kids and so many married couples and so few single people, and everybody's in transit that I feel quite alone, and it's hard. But that's my problem, and I'm dealing with it. Supposedly, that my faith in the Lord and my belief in Jesus Christ should allow me not to be lonely and to seek the faith of the Lord and understand that there's a plan. But it's not working for me at the moment.
Okay.
So I have moments that I come back to the trailer and there are tears in my eyes, and I say, hey, soak it up, get out, ride your bike, clean the trailer, do something. There's so much to do here. But I don't want to dwell on this, but I will. I've got so much I want to tell you about that I haven't told you about things I'm doing. But it appears to me that Homer, which is on the other side of Alaska, is also a good port, may be a better place for me to live.
Okay.
And it has more access. It has more access to streams and rivers. It's flatter. Here in Valdez, there's only one person in town, I think, who's in a wheelchair. Maybe 5.
Yeah.
But they just haven't accounted for it. So I will be going to Homer shortly and evaluating that city. But on just this serious moment, excuse me, I'd like to say that any of you listening who are married and who have girlfriends and the relationship is getting old or there are problems in the relationship, when you're alone with your dog in a trailer in a city where nobody knows you except for your status on TV, it is not a good place. And I ask everyone to evaluate the relationship that they're in, because at the end of the day, on your deathbed or sitting alone somewhere where you know no one,
mm-hmm.
the only thing that really counts is the friends that you have, the relationships with those that you love, and someone who you can share your life with. And at this moment in my life, I have my children, which are in North Carolina, but it's the only way of sharing a lot of the things that I'm doing is either with you
mm-hmm.
or on Facebook.
Right.
And it's hard. You can catch, I've said it before, I'll say it again, catch the biggest blue marlin in the entire world. Biggest one, put it in the boat. If you have no one to share it with, it's almost like it didn't even happen.
Right.
And so that is the downside of what I'm doing. The upside is that I have great moments of joy. I have met some terrific people. There are people in my life that may turn into great relationships. I hope I meet somebody in my life that I can love and be with. And I've been married most of my entire life, so it's tough. But that's my serious comment of the day.
Well, I got you. I understand.
It's true.
Yeah. It's something. It's real that you're dealing with. And we can't really understand completely, but we've all been there at one point or another where we've wanted to spend time with friends, family, a significant other, what have you. So I can understand what you're saying.
So let me go on to some really cool stuff. I don't know if you want to stop for a break, but the next thing I want to talk to you about is salmon.
Okay, well, let's take a quick break. We're going to step outside, and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. We're back to the second segment of the show, episode 4 of the Tred Barta Get Off the Couch Expedition from Alaska.
Hot Alaska.
Hot Alaska. He says it's hot out there. So, you're talking about salmon right when we went to the break, Tred. So, what's going on with salmon fishing out there? You said you had something you wanted to tell us.
Yeah, well, one of my greatest enjoyments is spending time with the commercial fleet. And as you know, as a sport fisherman, I have been a great proponent that commercial fishing and sport fishing have the same goals. They both want a renewable resource
mm-hmm.
that they can harvest. Commercial guys feed the world, and sport fishermen enjoy the absolute exaltation of when the rod goes tight and they eat bringing home dinner or they're releasing the fish.
Mm-hmm.
The government and many liberal left-wing factions have tried to get commercial and sport fishermen to be at odds with each other. but it's absolute BS because the goals are exactly the same. And if you could get both factions to align themselves, you would have tremendous power over legislation. But in Alaska, the harvesting of salmon is a lifetime pursuit. And when you eat salmon, there's a damn good chance it comes from Alaska. So I'm learning a lot about salmon. Of course, I'm catching a lot. You have all the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you a fascinating story. I have with me John Maclean, who just turned white because he didn't even know that I was going to ask him a couple questions. But he is a commercial fisherman, extremely well-established, successful, owns a 58-foot seiner, and his sons own boats. And put it this way, he is a definite force in the industry. And he can correct me if I'm making mistakes. He might even want to say a couple words himself. But he just walked in the trailer and said hello. But I want you to listen to this. It's fascinating. A number of years ago, the salmon fishery was at a terrible state due to weather, due to factors that we can't control, due to over-harvesting by sport and commercial. The salmon numbers, the migrations, were in terrible trouble. So Alaska started what I understand the word to be, John, correct me if I'm wrong, enhanced fishing. And what they did was the salmon that come back to these different streams and different ports, they harvest the eggs and raise small salmon.
Okay.
What do they call it? Smelt?
Yeah, smelt or fries.
Smelt or fries.
Right.
And they get them to an area that they build, a hatchery,
mm-hmm.
and then they go ahead and they release these fish into the wild. Well, 2 years later, these fish, guess where they come back to?
Back where they were released from, to spawn again.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, I want everybody to think, well, come on now, everybody, think about it. The world is a big place. The coast of Alaska is immense. There's streams and rivers. And yet these smelts, these mature salmon come back to this same hatchery of which they were born. Well, Alaska did this in several places. So when I was in Valdez just 2 weeks ago, maybe less than that, millions of these salmon, pink salmon, came back to the fishery. And they did not allow any harvesting by commercial entities. And I go down to the port, and there's like 80 boats down there. I mean, you can't believe it. Everywhere you look is a trawler, a seiner. What do we call them, John? Is it a trawler or a seiner, which is a boat that pulls a large net and circles the fish with a tender. The tender helps close the net. They pull the net in and they harvest the fish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and a lot of times they drop that fish off to a mothership, which will suck the fish in by suction, so they can continue fishing. Well, when the hatchery blows the whistle, that means that they've collected enough mature salmon eggs that they can reproduce for the next year.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yep.
And I had the privilege of going down to the hatchery, and here are millions of salmon, healthy, beautiful, silver, just majestic animals. The sea lions, I don't know how much they weigh. They got to weigh 500 to 1,000 pounds. I mean, they're monstrous. They may be bigger than that. Are grabbing the salmon, throwing them in the air, and eating them. And you're watching this whole thing. Well, I was there on opening day of the harvesting, where the commercial boats can now take a tremendous amount of the fish that are there. And it was just amazing to see all of these boats harvesting the salmon. But I think what impressed me the most is today, at this moment, where we send people to the moon and it's a joke. You know, we're going to Mars. We're doing everything. And think of all of the technology that goes into a rocket. Here a fish returns to the same place that it was born, in a hatchery after being in the ocean for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
If that does not blow you away with God's wonder, you're dead. Or how do they say it? You're dead to me. Right. You just don't get it. I mean, I don't care about you.
I saw a special on that here recently, and it blew my mind. I mean, we've known this for a while, but to get reminded of it on a regular basis, to see it come back like on TV or you're seeing it firsthand, to me, it's still, nature is amazing. Simply amazing.
Well, I find it, you know, I've hunted and fished all over the world, as you know. It's something about it that stood me up in my tracks. I don't know what it is, but it has to do with God. It has to do with the wonder and creation. It's just marvelous. But let me tell you something. The fishery in Alaska is healthy. The fish are healthy. The abundance is healthy. It's going in the right direction. And right now, the next fish that show up, I believe, are the silvers. And then with the king salmon is open to anglers now. I think things are really, really healthy in Alaska. And it's just a privilege to see it. And let me just say this. People in Alaska who work the sea, my God, they're good people. They're hardworking, long hours, brutal work. But they still love nature. They still have such respect for each other. They still all work together. There's a tremendous brotherhood of helping. John Maclean, my new friend here that I met here, who's harvesting the pinks, his main line just broke. I mean, he's out of business. So he could lose thousands of dollars. He's positioned the boat here. He's got a crew here. He's feeding them here. He's waiting for the opening. It happens tomorrow at 6 o'clock. This is a disaster to anybody. But a friend of his is going to loan him a main line, so he's out there in the morning. When you see this and you see the squabbling in the lower 48 and you turn on Fox and you see the name calling and everything, you know, it's just so foreign up here. And I wanted to relate that because it's a big part of Alaska.
Well, it's got to be refreshing to be away from this stuff down here, and all, like you said, the garbage. You know, because I really think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the people up there, everybody that's up there is really up there for kind of the same reason. Number one, to get away from all this garbage, and secondly, to enjoy the nature and partake in the nature and harvest animals and live a good, clean life.
I think you hit it right on the head. Except every criminal in the world is in the woods somewhere running from the law. But beyond that, Alaska has always been known for that. But let me just say, I find tremendous camaraderie in the commercial fleet. And let's talk about this for just a second, a serious note. I'm in a wheelchair. It takes a lot of guts to say that I'm lonely. It takes a lot of guts to say as a grown man, I find myself in my trailer actually crying at times, feeling sorry for myself. When I go down to the docks, whether these guys know me or don't know me, just with a few words, they know I'm in the game. They're all very nice. They're a good group of people. Mm-hmm. I think that if you come to Alaska and you do not take the time to get to know working people and get to know what they do, you're missing the real vacation up here. So I wanted to tell you about that. And let me just tell you right now, these bays are filled with salmon. They're jumping, they're migrating, they're moving up the streams. Every stream, every creek that has any credence whatsoever. The salmon will be going up there to lay their eggs in the gravel and then to die. And the whole concept of birth and rebirth and the circle of life, I mean, it's so in your face. It's just part of every day. And this is the man I always wanted to be. And this is the person I always have done. And this is why I think that the Lord brought me to Alaska. Is this is where I need to end up. But you need to really see it and feel it from every aspect of sport fishing, of commercial fishing, of the harvesting, of selling the fish, of processing the fish. After a while, a very short while, you have a real reverence for what's going on here. And it is extremely powerful. And to think that some people in this world don't get to experience it, don't understand it, have not seen it, is so sad. It's a real tragedy.
They don't know what they're missing.
So I say to every parent listening, I speak the truth. And you need to expose your children and your kids not only to hunting and fishing and the great outdoors, but also to what's going on in Alaska and many places in the United States. It's not just Alaska, of course.
Well, you had mentioned about the fish rearing there. I don't know if you know a lot about Michigan, but Michigan had a joint venture project with salmon over with the state of Washington, and they traded salmon eggs back and forth. And they did that so they'd have a stock of them somewhere else in case there was a big ecological collapse in that state, so they could always go back to that and trade back and forth. But that was a big thing they've been doing here in Michigan for quite a while. And I've been to a couple fisheries here, and they do a lot of the same thing where the fish come right back to the same places where they were reared and lay their eggs, and that whole cycle of life starts over.
Yeah. Well, I think it was successful, was it not?
Absolutely. They're still doing it to this day, as far as I know.
Yep.
There's a great little fishery or hatchery in Odin, Michigan, and I've visited that with my kids several times, and they still raise fry there, and we've been inside watching the rearing and how the whole process goes. And it's amazing. And if you don't have the opportunity to see something like it, you're really missing out. People need to get out and see these things.
So let's switch the subject to bears, baby.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but I've got this sore on my right hip.
Yeah, I did.
You can post that. It's really ugly. I posted it not for shock value, but just to show the truth, as I always do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on my bike. I'm Valdez has a beautiful path, a bike path. It was one of the days I was very lonely and down. I got on my bike. I went about 3 miles. Pepper has a harness, and she helps pull me. And I push my hand bike, which attaches to my wheelchair.
Okay.
Well, I come around a corner, and it has a little bit of downhill, and I'm pumping in high gear, and man, I'm smoking, just smoking. I mean, moving. And here in the path is about a 850-pound grizzly bear with a head, great big block head, who is going to cross the bike path to a small stream on the side and start eating these salmon. Keep in mind that every bear in these coastal areas know that it's almost dinner time. By September, all the bears are on the streams to eat the fat that a salmon affords. So here's the grizzly. Here I am, 15 yards away, closing in, put on the brakes, and as I put on the brakes, I cock the wheel so it buckles, and head over heels. Here comes the wheelchair. Here comes Tred. Here comes my urine bag. We are sprawled out all over the place, about 8 yards from this grizzly bear.
Uh-oh.
And I am flailing for my pistol, which is carry a 45 Glock ACP, Model 36. And I've got the pistol. The bike gets sprawled out. It's like a wholesale yard sale. Stuff's all over the place. And the grizzly looks at me, looks at the bike. I got my pistol. I put one in the chamber. I'm holding right on his head. I'm on my belly, and he looks at me. He makes one big huff and walks into the woods. Oh!
Wow.
So let me tell you something. I don't want to say the word, but I was scared to death that I was too close because I was way within the circle of which she doesn't like me there.
Right.
And thank God this bear has seen a lot of people on a lot of bikes. Some bystanders who came down the path about 15 minutes later helped me get back in my chair, and I went to the hospital so I could take all my clothes off on a table and have the head doctor just look to see if I had any wounds and stuff because I can get a pressure sore and die.
Mm-hmm.
And we found the one on my hip. But if we could have a comical moment, here I am exercising. I cocked the wheel. I screwed up. The thing, I go catapulting. There's stuff all over the place. I'm worried that a urine bag is not going to rip out of my groin. The urine bag is on the hard thing. The bike and the wheelchair are in the grass, and I'm less than 15 yards from a grizzly. And by the time I collected myself and got my pistol, I was like 8-10 yards from this bear.
Wow.
And when he huffed, let me tell you something, buddy. It took my breath away.
You could probably feel it, couldn't you? I mean, almost close enough to feel it.
Can't. All you know is you're there. You're too close.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that bear had come for me, I don't know if I could have saved myself. It's just too close. It just would have to be a shot of a lifetime. And I'd be honest with you, I was having a hard time even holding the gun. So that's just a quick story. But in Valdez, the bears are very prevalent. Black bears and grizzlies walk through the middle of town sometimes, but they're down on the paths. You have to learn to back away. You have to learn how to talk to a bear. You have to be very careful not to get between a sow and a cub, and you got to use your head.
Yeah.
It's just part of living there.
Well, let me ask you this.
Go ahead. People say, have you seen many bears? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
I've felt their breath.
Literally. Is there places there for you to take your firearm and practice shooting? I mean, is that something you've been doing lately or not?
Oh, yeah, I shoot all the time.
Yeah.
You can shoot your gun almost anywhere. By the way, I wear my pistol on my wheelchair. I go to church. I go to the bank. I go to the post office. There's nowhere I don't go with my pistol exposed. I have a carry permit, which is legal in Alaska, and it's everybody carries a gun.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Everybody who's around bears, who has family, who has kids, who has dogs, usually has a gun very close. It's no big deal.
It's a way of life there.
If you want to shoot, you just walk behind the trailer park and start shooting. There's nobody going to do nothing.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm shooting my pistol. Oh, good. Nobody. It's I don't even know if they have a shooting range.
Okay.
Maybe they do, but you can shoot your gun anywhere you want in Alaska, pretty much. But I do carry a pistol because I feel vulnerable in my wheelchair. I really do, and I think that it gives me confidence to get out of town by myself. And it's just a natural thing. Think nothing of it. But that bear, I sent you pictures of a lot of bears during my travels.
Yep.
I've killed a grizzly bear in Bella Coola, British Columbia, at 8 yards with a wooden arrow and a stone point. Everybody saw the TV show. It was the real deal. I believe I was closer than 8 yards at this time. I mean, I want to say I was scared blank. I think you all know what I mean.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I really was. When they got me back on my bike, I started laughing, but it was a type of fear laughter.
Sure.
So I said, oh, God, that really was, that must be the closest I've ever been to a grizzly bear right there. I was very unhappy.
Yeah, that was almost it. That's crazy. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we take a quick break here? When we come back, we'll pick up the conversation. But we're just about on time here for another break. So I'm going to step outside. We'll take another break. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show. We're sitting here talking to Tred Barta, who's over in Valdez, Alaska. Not over, up in Valdez, Alaska.
It would be up.
Yeah, from where we're at. It's over and up. Tred, you had posted some pictures, and I want to throw this picture up because I was just simply blown away when I saw it. You talked about the two-colored water in a river where glacial melt and seawater was mixing. Can you talk just a little bit about that? Because to me, it was just a fascinating photos that you showed of that.
Yeah, what happens here in the interior of Alaska is as the glacial buildups, whether it be a glacier or snowmelt builds, it obviously goes downhill into waterfalls and streams all over Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
This water carries with it a silt, a muddy, a gravelly type of substance that is a gray color, a very light gray color.
Mm-hmm.
And as it enters the river, a big river where the water flows to, that's the color. But there are other mountain streams that get filtered, that are smaller, that are runoffs, the small filter streams, kind of like filaments from a big stream.
Mm-hmm.
And that water usually is crystal clear or a tannish color, a brownish color. And quite often you have these tributaries meet up with a true glacial stream like the Clutina,
mm-hmm.
Clutina, and you get this massive color change. Well, that was the picture that I was fishing. And in that stream, there were 30 to 60-pound king salmon
Wow.
spawning right in front of me. They were entering the river, and we were actually watching them. But they were not open to fish for. So we were fishing for grayling and rainbow and dolly varden. And we caught all those on dry flies. But you could see the the contrast between the glacial melt-off and the kind of filtered filament. And it is beautiful. It's breathtaking. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And the picture blows you away.
Let
me tell you something. The picture doesn't do nothing compared to you actually standing there. And the people at Salmon Grove specialize in taking you to places like that on a float trip, and it's a wonder. It's a beautiful thing to see. You see it all throughout Alaska, but you don't see it that often, But it's quite something.
It's just got to be at a certain time of the year when that melt happens. You see that.
Yeah. Then then the streams, and later in the fall they start to clean up. They start to look clearer, and they take on all different colors,
Right. Well, speaking of all different colors, people are festive this time of the year. There's fireworks everywhere going off, the red, white, and blue. What was the 4th of July like for you over there in Valdez?
Well, let me say this. It was a wonderful, heartfelt day that I will remember for the rest of my life. This Valdez is a small town. In the winter, 1,500 to 2,000 people. In the summer, it triples, who knows, but everyone is here. Every trailer park is full. Every parking spot is full. The town is fully subscribed. They have a parade, and the first thing that comes down is a bear trap. And then they have kids on bicycles. And then they have floats with a John Deere tractor. And it just comes on, and They have the firehouse and the fire trucks and wheelbarrows, and everything is handmade. And it's just, I guess what you say, the smallest town in the world type of feel. You feel it in Massachusetts and Connecticut. You feel it all through the Midwest. This is a small town 4th of July where everybody knows each other. And they have the most interesting things. Number one, they have a cookout for the entire town. The entire town. No cost, nothing. You come, you eat, you feast. And the town pays for it. And all the local fishermen contribute halibut and lingcod and rockfish and moose and caribou and all type of different things. So the entire town is fed in a line, in a buffet. The Coast Guard puts on a massive display. The Coast Guard around here is everyone's friend. I have never met a commercial captain in my lifetime who does not believe in God. I don't. I'm just telling you, I haven't. If you have, good for you. I haven't. And these people are good people, and they're hard-working people. And what the Coast Guard and the commercial fleet and the Coast Guard and the sport fishing fleet are so aligned. They have helicopters. They save you when death is certain. The water is cold. I mean, you're going to die if you're in the water in Alaska. And when ships go down, it's such a tragedy. So everybody loves the Coast Guard, and everybody salutes the Coast Guard, and everybody knows the Coast Guard. So the Coast Guard put on a demonstration using their helicopters of saving people in the water at the town dock, and everybody was there, and we watched them come and go and do all the demonstrations. That was great. In town, there's a pond at the Civic Center, and they have what they call canoe jousting. And everybody, different teams, get in the canoes. They go out in the pond, and they joust until the canoe either falls over or the jouster is put overboard. And the Coast Guard monitors that to make sure nobody drowns. But it's the coolest thing you have ever seen. So between the parade and the honky-tonk and everybody on a bicycle and the American flag and the pond and you put it all together with a huge barbecue and bands of 3 or 4 different bands and no cost to anybody, the camaraderie and the respect for our armed forces and the United States of America is strong and wonderful in Valdez, Alaska. And I believe it is all through Alaska.
That is awesome.
Alaskan people love the armed services. The Alaskan people literally adore, not like, adore the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is the lifeblood of life in Alaska. And, you know, the feeling of community, the feeling of sharing, you just get the feeling that in so many small towns in Alaska, people need each other. And you may not need the person on the Monday, but you're not going to dismiss him on a Tuesday because on Wednesday he may save your life.
Right.
So there is a bond of everybody sharing and using and bartering and giving in these communities, and you can feel it. And for me to talk about it at great length means there's something to it. In fact, so the answer to you, it was a great 4th of July.
That's
absolutely
awesome.
Spectacular.
That is awesome.
The only thing missing for me was a companion, a woman companion, that I could share it with, and hopefully the Lord will solve that problem someday.
Well, looking ahead now, I mean, last few minutes that we got here, what are you looking towards as far as what's your next adventure? You mentioned Homer. Is that a place, a destination you're going?
My next move is to Homer. And John Maclean, my new buddy, lives there. He's one of the players there. Everybody tells me there's less snow, get around better in the winter. The access to fishing is better. The town is bigger. There are more places I can fish, that I can hunt. The ground is flatter, that I can get a moose, that I can get a caribou. So I'm going to look really, really, really carefully at Homer, and I'll be moving the trailer probably in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So that's my plan. And, I'm not sure that I'm going to move to Alaska. I may end up back in Beaufort, North Carolina, or Islamorada. I don't know. But my search in the truth of myself and to experience things firsthand and to inspire people to get off the couch and people with infirmities to get up and get out. And if I was with you in Michigan, oh, by the way, there's the chance that in September I will be in the UP with my buddies there.
Okay.
Good chance.
Okay.
Hunting whitetail with a crossbow. I may just get a hair up my butt and drive my trailer across the entire country and go to the UP. One of the most beautiful places in the world. One of the most beautiful places in the world is the Upper Peninsula. But I would like to leave you with this. Do not dare try to say that I am doing something that you can't do. Because my message is, you can go out in the backyard with a pellet gun, enjoy the early fall and the leaves changing, and the cold wind and just the smell of the earth under your feet, and go gray squirrel hunting with a pellet gun is identically the same as somebody spending $100,000 on some African safari.
Absolutely.
It's about the journey. It is not about the end game. That's not what it's about. And people, sometimes I feel like I'm a failure. I say, Trev, you took this trip, you're here alone. Why did you do it? And in my heart, I've come up with, if just one person has got off the couch in his wheelchair and said, if Tred can do it, I can do it. If one person can do that, then my trip has been a success.
Absolutely.
And I'll end with this. If you're in a wheelchair and you're mopey and you're sad and you're unhappy and you're not up and you're not bringing to someone something that you can offer, people are not going to help you. But if you show them you got guts and you got courage and you got fire and that you never give up, they'll open their arms and they'll help you. And I've noticed that on this trip. And I realize now that Valdez will not be my home. And I am scared of Homer. I don't know anybody except one person. And let me tell you something. That ain't easy. But I'm going to do it, and I'm going to look at it, I'm going to analyze it, and I'm going to go forth. So I end all of these things with you, with a prayer. And I'd like to end it right now, if I can.
Absolutely.
With a prayer.
Yep.
And let's do that. So let's bow our heads and, dear Lord, for what we're about to receive, the Lord make us truly thankful. Thank you, Lord, for creation. Thank you for opening our eyes to see how death and birth happen. Understand that the Lord says in the Bible, it says in the creation, that the world and the animals and the birds and all of the big game, we're here to give sustenance to man. Dear Lord, let us know that it is much better to give than to receive. Thank you for the sunsets. Thank you for the sunrises. Open our hearts and our eyes to help other people. Thank you for these guys and the show and the North Journal. Thank you for spreading the word of goodness and kindness. Amen. In Christ's name, amen.
Tred, you take care of yourself, buddy. We'll talk here in a couple weeks. Stay safe, and let us know what it's like when you get over there to Homer.
Never give up. Never say never. Get your ass off the couch. Let's go.
Sounds good, brother. You take care now.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. I tell you what. You can't argue with that,
You
man.
can't argue with that. Like you said, if he helps just one person get off the couch, it's worth it.
Yep, exactly.
So
that's what it's about. He's going to Homer, and hopefully he finds what he's looking for over there. Hopefully he has a great adventure over there. And
like you said, if he does, what he doesn't know if he doesn't go, so he'll go,
right,
and then he'll analyze it.
Yep,
and then he might end up back here in October.
You never know where he's going to wind up.
It sounds like it.
As long as he stays away from grizzly bears.
Well, it sounds like he was a little too close.
I wonder if that grizzly thought, hey, Meals on Wheels.
Right?
On his bike, you know.
Absolutely. So,
but you guys stay tuned. We're going to be back
probably a couple weeks.
2-3 weeks.
Yep, see how he's doing.
I think it's been 4 since we last talked with you. We tried a couple weeks ago, couldn't make a connection, then we had the 4th of July. So
right. It seems about every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, gives him some time to do some stuff. It takes him some time to, it's going to take him some...
Get acclimated to the area.
Yep, I just mapped it out for him to travel to Homer. That's a 10-hour drive.
10 hours.
500 miles, 10 hours.
Wow. You know, you don't think of going across state. We just take that for granted. Even like for us to go all the way to the UP is only a 4-hour drive from here.
Right.
You know, and that's, driving 75, 80 miles an hour.
Right, exactly. That is not a straight shot. It looks like you got to go probably around the mountains.
Yeah,
right. Yep, so we'll give him a couple weeks, and then we'll check back with Tred for episode number 5.
And before we go, I want to give a quick shout-out to Hunter's Blend Coffee, because they are supplying coffee for Tred on this trip. Go over to their website, huntersblendcoffee.com. Actually, I will throw their page up right here. And if you go over to that page and you use the Up North Journal promo code, you will be able to save 10% on your purchase. You can see it right here,
right.
UNJ.
Capital UNJ.
Type that in, and that way you'll save some money on your purchase when you check out at their little electronic checkout. So, but that'll do it for this episode here. And not next week.
In a couple weeks, we'll see you for episode number 5.
Yeah. Hopefully in a couple weeks or so. So y'all take care. We'll be back again with Tred next time. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Scentlock Technologies,
Scent Blocker,
Rambo Bikes,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Limb Walker Game Calls,
Stanislawski Releases,
Copper John Sights,
Easy Cut Outdoor Products,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Sense Hunting Sense,
X-Stand Tree Stands,
Spot Shooters,
Gut Check Indicators,
and Packermax Cultipackers.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.